So for our presentation, we will be talking about nicotine and more specifically vaping and the effects that it has on teenagers.
What is nicotine? Nicotine is a poisonous substance that is extremely addictive. It is found in tobacco and other vaping devices. What is vaping? Vaping is when you are using a battery-powered device to inhale nicotine and other harmful chemicals. There are different flavors that you can choose from, which makes this more appealing than smoking. Although it is more appealing, vaping can become extremely addictive. This can cause many short and long-term problems. Side effects of nicotine: dizziness and lightheadedness, changes in the blood flow, higher risk of blood clots, higher blood pressure, changes in heart rate, peptic ulcers, diarrhea, nausea, dry mouth, tremors, joint pain, and heartburn.
While much of the focus has been on respiratory issues, there are also many neurological effects that have been reported among teenagers. These include nicotine addiction, impaired cognitive function, increased risk of seizures, mood disorders, sleep disturbances, increased risk of stroke, neuroinflammation, altered brain development, and headaches.
Teenagers are having to constantly keep up with new trends, including the ones that may be dangerous and addictive, like vaping and juuling.
We just really wanted to be informed. I think the more informed we are, the more I can have an open line of communication with my sons.
Christy Meyer was one parent who came in looking for answers and walked out with a wealth of knowledge.
The other thing we learned tonight was about the dosage amounts. The concentrations are just way higher than what we are more familiar with from our teenage years.
One Juul pod contains about the same amount of nicotine as a pack of cigarettes, and kids are creating a dangerous cocktail.
We talked about vaping the cannabis, which is really dangerous, and we're starting to see kids have some pretty severe consequences, like they're passing out, we can't rouse them for hours.
Jennifer Haywood is a social worker and addiction specialist who sees young people struggling with these issues.
If your kid's doing something, it doesn't make you a good or a bad parent, and it doesn't make your kid good or bad. It just means that there's a lot of experimenting and a lot of misinformation about the safety.
She says it's important for parents to talk to one another without judgment or shame.
These are all kids just struggling, and if we can take the bad, good labels off, I think that we're going to raise more awareness and talk more. The more talking, the better.
I've already talked to them a lot, but I'm just going to revisit it all. I'm constantly telling them that it's just not a world you want any part of.
Experts also say that manufacturers are appealing to youth through different flavors, and the smell of that smoke also makes it difficult for parents to know what their kids are using. Reporting live, Molly Laird, WLWT News 5.
Nicotine companies have certain marketing strategies to make their products seem appealing to the youth. One strategy that these nicotine companies tend to use includes creating appealing flavors. These vape flavors are marketed to be kid-friendly, such as Gummy Bear, Sour Patch Kids, Mango, Cherry Popsicle, and many more. These tastes and packaging make young people want to try nicotine because it will be yummy, as opposed to the harsh taste of a cigarette. Another strategy is advertising on social media. Many of these companies have created a brand that makes vaping seem fun, like every cool kid is doing it. These companies also sponsor large events and concerts. They plaster their logo everywhere, causing many young adults to become familiar with the brand. And finally, vape organizations offer scholarships. They ask young people to write essays about the possible benefits of e-cigarettes and how they are better than other methods of nicotine intake. This is one of many ways they attempt to implement thoughts into the new generation that vaping isn't as bad as people say. These companies are attempting to target children to make more money. While they dispute these claims, it is obvious.
Vapes, and especially single-use vapes, are incredibly harmful to the environment. More than 90 tons of lithium were used in the production of the $5 billion worth of single-use vapes sold globally just last year alone. That equates to enough lithium to supply more than 11,000 electric vehicle batteries. They also contained roughly 1,160 tons of copper, which is enough for 1.6 million home electric vehicle chargers. Vaping products can leach dangerous metals, battery acid, and nicotine into the environment, and there is no legal way to recycle them, so each single-use vape used contributes to this problem.
Because of the nicotine contained in most vapes, it can be just as difficult to quit vaping as it is to quit smoking. Withdrawal symptoms can include things like cravings, anxiety, and depression. Depending on how long you've been vaping, symptoms can last anywhere between weeks and months. Even though quitting is a difficult process, it is definitely worth it because of the impact that it has on your body. Within 20 minutes of quitting vaping, your cardiovascular system already sees improvements. Within a few hours, the nicotine withdrawals will start. 1 day later, your risk of heart attack falls. 2 days later, your senses begin to improve. 3 days later, the nicotine is completely out of your body. 1 month later, your lungs are much healthier than they were. After 3 months, blood circulation will have improved. After 9 months, your lungs can fight infections again. After 1 year, your risk of heart attack is cut in half. And after 5 years, your risk of stroke is significantly lower. And a decade later, you will see lowered cancer risks. There are multiple treatment options to fight against nicotine dependence in teenagers. There are behavioral treatments such as cognitive behavioral therapy, motivational interviewing, and mindfulness treatments. Everyone is different, and some methods may work better for some teenagers than others. Other options for treatment is starting medications. Some of the best options for eliminating a nicotine addiction include nicotine replacement therapies, bupropion, and varenicline. The most important thing is that multiple methods of treatment are always available. If you are a young adult struggling with a nicotine addiction, do not be afraid to reach out and receive help.